Professor Lyrae Van Clief-Stefanon is the author of Open Interval, a 2009 National Book Award finalist, Black Swan, winner of the 2001 Cave Canem Poetry Prize, and Poems in Conversation and a Conversation 2008 with Elizabeth Alexander, who composed and delivered Praise Song for the Day for Barack Obama's inauguration. Her work has appeared in such journals as African American Review, Callaloo, Crab Orchard Review, Gulf Coast, and Shenandoah, and in the anthologies Bum Rush the Page, Roll Call, Commonwealth, Gathering Ground, and The Ringing Ear, Black Poets Lean South. She's currently at work on a third collection, The Coal Tar Colors. A round of applause for Professor Van Clief-Stefanon, who will be delivering some of her poetry.
Is that working? Hi. Hi. I'm going to read 5 poems because poems are how I think. Poetry is the only media that I've found where I can find the space to say what I really mean. And so I'm going to read these 5 poems, but I figured I'd tell you some things about them before I got started, things that you need to know maybe to understand the poems. So Harriet Tubman, after all of her trips back and forth on the Underground Railroad, settled in a small town called Auburn, New York. That's about an hour from here. And I teach in the Cornell, that town, there's a maximum security men's prison in the middle of the town. And I teach in the Cornell prison education program in that maximum security men's prison. So that'll come up. Jimi Hendrix, I don't know how many people know that Jimi Hendrix was a paratrooper in the Army. He jumped out of planes and his experimentation with feedback and all of that kind of grew out of his trying to find the sound of the wind going through the parachutes when he was jumping out of the planes. So that's something that's going to come up. Let me see, what else do you need to know? Oh, when we were trying to figure out way back in the day navigation, really strange things were attempted. And one of them was this, that ships would all have on them a wounded dog that had been then treated or wrapped with this substance called powder of sympathy. And so back on land, I guess, the powder of sympathy, it was kind of like magic meets science or whatever, and back on land they would have the powder of sympathy and stab the knife that they had stabbed the dog with into the substance, and that way the dogs were all supposed to howl at the same time when they did that, and so the ships could tell where they were. So that's going to come up. This is what I mean in terms of poetry for me, though. It's how I process. This is past, present, future. There's no high-low. There's no any of that. It's just that's where I find the space. So I'll start with Bop, the North Star, Auburn, New York. Polaris sits still in the sky, and if I knew which one it was, I could follow it all the way to Auburn. Oh, Harriet, who did not need the poise of freedom knocked into your head like sense, who found it more than possible to sleep, pistol shoved deep into your pocket along this route, I cannot tell a dipper from Orion. Yes, the springtime needed you. Many a star was waiting for your eyes only. The university twinkles on the hill above my house. The fat moon rises and a girl holds out her arms. She twirls in a blue Polly Flinders dress, Mama's precious cameo, a white woman's silhouette on black satin ribbon, choker tied around her neck. Poise begins here, in cinders, in rhyme, in splintering beauty into this and this. The image at my throat the summers pitching constellations, the 10 o'clock scholars' midnight lesson. Yes, the springtime needed you. Many a star was waiting for your eyes only. At the prison at Auburn, I cross the yard. Inmates wet, tongues against my body, cement sculpted, poised for hate, pitch compliments like coins, wade their silver slickening in the water, uncollected change. A guard asks, think they're beautiful? Just wait till they're out here stabbing each other. Oh, Harriet, the stars throw down shanks. Teach the sonnets a cell. Now try to escape. Yes, the springtime needed you. Many a star was waiting for your eyes only. The second poem is from the new project that I'm working on. It's called Carnelian. Carnelian and white, as we know, are the colors of this institution. Carnelian, thinking about ways of seeing. Carnelian. First, I think I am seeing apple skin, then tomato skin, not stone. It is too easy to say red, enjoyable to study the difference, discover sard, harder and tougher, but duller, Hackley, Carnelian's cousin. Dried blood, yes, the blood on the banjo, describable now, but how now describe its dirty, thrum-battered goatskin head? It is impossible to say without. Saying, where am I? Where have I been without? Getting lost? I am simply sitting in a room, looking at an illustration, one version of a color, hence August. Heirlooms, gorgeous, plump, and ugly heft. How a sharp knife slides through mottled flesh, the weight of water, sex. The other? Sweetmeats, something heavy again, a bloody red, a blue-red veining through a heavy morsel. This next poem is called Challenger, and it's in conversation with some of the poems that I heard earlier. Challenger. Pretty's just armor. Something else to wear like a dress or a name, not magic like skin. Apparel, apparent, apparently repellent. Pretty don't draw flies like honey, we just pretend. It does. Skin is what draws. You don't believe me? Just think skin flick. The winter sky is not a skin you might fly right out past it, but pretty makes an atmosphere. It's hard to get back in. One hitch, 1 week, O-ring, and you are that white dense puff of pinkish smoke, too thick for cloud, trailers swirling off in opposite directions, someone not coming home you believed, lifting off you were, bound somewhere boundless. You will never be that pretty again. This poem is called The Ends of Praise, and it has an epigraph by Joseph Brodsky, who writes, "And what is space anyway, if not the body's absence at every given point?" The ends of praise. In the consuming dark, we cannot tell ourselves from ghosts. We are skinless, voices. One says a woman made something beautiful fall. Another says slip leaves into an envelope. In concert, we sound the richest black vein through each other. A disconcerting chord, a thick, fat rising. Hendrix haunted his guitar for the ends of praise, the wheeze of wind through silk distortions, a screaming eagle's memory of. Midnight flares from the dark's moored barges. We locate ourselves, hurting for longitude. We sink the knife in powder of sympathy and listen to the dogs as they howl. And then this last poem is called Lost. I am a native of Daytona Beach, Florida. And one night after cooking dinner for my then boyfriend and his best friend, my best friend and I decided to take our canoe upstream and see what was in the swamp. We are both native Floridians. We know what's in the swamp. The swamp is in the swamp. But we did this anyway and took the canoe up and walked into the swamp. And this was after dinner, so the sun set. And we were lost in the swamp for about 5 hours. And it's the closest to dying, I think, that I've ever come. But it also, when I think about rethinking our society, the need for people comes up. Lost. The river, unrolled bolt of silk, gives evening the smell of fish, wet leaves, loosening matter. We glide through its blue plum tint toward night, the leftover tang of red wine in our mouths. Upstream, an idea waits for us. If we were lost, how much more would we love each other? We four move toward this losing with the steady creak and drip of our rowing. We cannot, in lowering darkness, tell direction, whether the frog's croak came from behind or before us. Our bellies full, the swamp beckons us behind its green drapery. Whatever hides in the tangle, the surprise of cypress knees, the fierce, sharp-edged palms welting our forearms as we walk blind through mottled nights, sulfur rot, and sucking mud. What flies into our mouths, impossible to see. Mosquitoes lighting in our ears, their constant whine, high-pitched and crazy-making. The silent patience of gators and our wary estimation of their hunger. We will keep, we are certain, as we lose ourselves for hours, when we find ourselves again bankside and two must choose to swim because we're not where we began. The river moves despite our stillness, our breath breathing itself into the wet heat, whether they disappear for good, the two who splash away, their heavy kicking swallowed by this evening. I am of the two who wait, waist high in water, eyes stretched wide to see nothing but night washing itself, black over black in muggy layers, inches from my face. Not my hands, skin of water, curve of meniscus, my breasts where I displace it, my undissolved legs immersed, merged with water, losing above, in, out of, but for these hands sliding over me, another's hands to keep me from becoming lisp of leaf tips touching, to keep me from becoming current tongue, lisp of leaf tips touching water, but for we too touching, agreeing. This is my body, agreeing I still belong in it. Thank you.